Bill Rabinowitz is the beat writer for the Columbus Dispatch, covering the Buckeyes, and Bill, kind enough to join us this morning. When did you first hear about this story, Bill?
Well, it was actually a very kind of minor thing back maybe a couple weeks ago when it popped up kind of out of nowhere that Zach Smith was going to be appearing in court, and like in 15 minutes from then, on this kind of very minor, obscure charge of criminal trespass. And didn't think much of it, thought, okay, this is a very minor thing, and then talked to his attorney that day, and then it just kind of blew up from there. So a couple weeks, it's just kind of amazing how quickly this has developed.
What do you know about Zach Smith with this situation with his ex-wife, and how many incidents were there at Ohio State?
Yeah, at Ohio State, we didn't know anything until just recently.
Okay.
There was no. We knew that Zach Smith and his wife had divorced a couple years ago. Didn't know the details of that. It was clear now, and obviously in my reporting and others, it was a pretty volatile marriage and ended obviously in divorce. We didn't know anything about potential domestic abuse at all until recently.
What did you make of Urban Meyer's denial yesterday that the first he heard of this was Wednesday night?
Yeah, actually at the Big Ten meetings last week, or Big Ten meetings last week, yeah, when he came out and said that was a pretty kind of a line in the sand, and I was a little surprised that he was so definitive that he would say, yes, I knew about something in 2009 when they were both in Florida, but I didn't know anything about 2015 until I asked our people to check it late last night, and that was like, okay, this is what he's saying. He this is when he knew it and when he knew it, and that's probably the big issue right now for him. Is if, in fact, he did know it, and Courtney Smith apparently told Shelley Meyer this, and Shelley Meyer and Urban Meyer, of course, are very close, and did Shelley Meyer then tell Urban Meyer? Did Urban Meyer forget that? I mean, that's for the investigation to decide, but that's really the question, and Urban Meyer probably could have hedged a little bit last week in Chicago and probably been on safer ground.
Is this a fireable offense?
I don't want to make that judgment. I'm not the judge or jury. It's not for me to say. I think that he has certainly put himself in jeopardy that nobody would have foreseen even yesterday, honestly, at this time. And Paul Brown is the last Ohio State coach to leave on his own terms. In 1942, I think, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, Earl Bruce, everybody has been fired. And I really thought, and most people did, that Urban Meyer is going to be able to leave on his own terms because of his success here, because he had run a clean program, no hint of NCAA violations. It was rolling. And now everything is up in the air.
Is there any correlation with Jim Tressel, with how he got fired?
The thing I thought about was these are kind of errors of omission. Jim Tressel, one of his the one thing he really couldn't get past was when he signed off on that NCAA form saying he didn't know of any NCAA violations when clearly he had gotten emails about it. With Urban Meyer, it's what did he know? What did he do if he in fact knew about something, and why would he say he didn't know when evidence shows that at least there's a strong possibility that he would have been told. So, it's almost like more errors of omission than commission.
So what's the plan for the program with practice opening up on Friday?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy. In 2011, which was my first year on the beat, Luke Fickell had taken over under kind of similar circumstances, but that was in late May. Literally tomorrow is the start of training camp. I was a little surprised that Ryan Day was the one appointed acting coach instead of somebody who was experienced as a head coach like Greg Schiano, or even Kevin Wilson, who was the head coach in Indiana. That's a question that we have not gotten answered. Why Ryan Day? But it's going to be crazy. You're breaking in a new quarterback and Dwayne Haskins. You've got questions you've got to answer on both sides of the ball. Now, it's Ohio State. They're considered to be a favorite to make the college football playoff again. The program is bigger than one man, but nobody wants to see, unless you're a Michigan fan, I assume, Ohio State going into training camp with this kind of turmoil and uncertainty.
He's Bill Rabinowitz. He covers the Buckeyes. He's the beat writer for the Columbus Post-Dispatch, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But you start to look at this program, and we were talking 15 minutes ago where Paulie, my producer, said, what does Ohio State try to wrap this up just to kind of pacify, placate perception-wise? I said, no, that's not how Ohio State works. Ohio State is in its own vacuum, but they only care about Ohio State and those fans. So I don't see them doing something just to placate the rest of the country. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a process, and unfortunately for Ohio State, they're going through a similar process now because they've had their scandal with the wrestling doctor who, it's a bit of a version of the Michigan State Larry Nassar story, not quite to that extent, but it's a doctor who was accused of abusing or with wrestlers and other athletes at Ohio State. So they've hired a firm to investigate that. I don't know who they're going to hire to investigate the Urban Meyer matter and this whole thing. But, yeah, Ohio State's going to do what Ohio State's going to do in the time that they feel like they need to do it. I don't think they're going to feel outside pressure to rush to a conclusion. I just think that that's the way that Ohio State handles things.
If I talk to you in a month, is Urban Meyer the head coach at Ohio State?
I'm always afraid of these questions. That's where I kind of got to go back to I'm not the judge or jury. I don't think it's my place as the beat writer to say. I will say this, though, that he is in a position that even, 25 hours ago, I would never have thought he would be in. And the idea that Urban Meyer is very potentially looking at a forced exit, that not being able to leave on his own terms is pretty shocking. I'm not going to say what the percentages are of that happening, but the fact that it's happening, that it is a real possibility at all, is just kind of shocking.
I know you got a busy day. We appreciate the time, Bill. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
That's Bill Rabinowitz covering the Buckeyes for Columbus Dispatch. Yeah, you know what? As a writer, beat writer, you're probably saying, all right, hey, I got a profile coming out. We got a new quarterback, or just how good this team is. And having lived in Ohio and grown up on Ohio State football, that's what that state's all about. It starts with the Ohio State Buckeyes. And the fact that you could, 24 hours ago, Urban Meyer is getting ready to coach and practice opens Friday, and then here we are, paid administrative leave, and the possibility of losing his job there. Amazing. Happens quickly.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.